Have you ever fallen in love with someone you've never actually met? Well, apparently in 1993 America, everyone did, especially if that someone was a grieving widower living on a houseboat in Seattle. Welcome back, my friends, to Date Like the Movies. It's not just for Hollywood. The show where dating meets the movies and where we attempt to decode what Hollywood taught us about relationships, for better or for occasionally much worse. Today's episode, all about Sleepless in Seattle, a movie that insists destiny is real, cross-country love is practical, and that if you hear someone's voice on the radio, you should probably uproot your life and follow it. And joining me is my friend Kristin, rom-com lover and someone who has thoughts about Annie's decision-making, Sam's emotional readiness, and whether 8-year-old Jonah should ever be allowed anywhere near an airport unsupervised. Kristin, welcome back to Date Like the Movies. Good to have you.
Hey, Brent. So great to be back. Thanks for having me again.
Definitely. For those that haven't seen the movie, if you haven't, you need to watch this one. Sam Baldwin, an architect in Seattle, is grieving the loss of his beloved wife. His son, Jonah, sees how lonely and heartbroken his dad has become and calls a national radio show on Christmas Eve to ask for advice. The host gets Sam on the line, who initially reluctantly opens up about how much he misses his wife. His honesty and pain captivate female listeners across the country. One of those listeners, Annie Reed, is a journalist in Baltimore who hears Sam on the show and is moved by the depth of his love. She's engaged to a good man, yet she can't stop thinking about Sam, even though they've never met. Jonah becomes convinced that Annie is perfect for his dad. Annie, despite thinking she's being ridiculous, I would agree with her on that, can't shake the feeling of connection either. She ends up writing Sam a letter suggesting they meet atop the Empire State Building on Valentine's Day, a nod to a famous movie romance, An Affair to Remember. Jonah finds the letter and loves it, but Sam dismisses the idea as unrealistic. Again, I would agree with you, Sam. Jonah decides to take matters into his own hands by secretly, remember he's 8, flying to New York on Valentine's Day to meet Annie at the Empire State Building. Sam, panicking when he realizes Jonah is gone, races after him. At the same time, Annie, torn about her engagement to another man and overwhelmed by the sense of fate, goes to the Empire State Building as well. She arrives at the top just after the building closes. She's heartbroken until, and in Hollywood fashion, in the nick of time, Sam and Jonah show up moments later, and they meet and see each other face to face. There's an instant quiet recognition, a feeling they've been heading towards this moment all along. The movie ends with the three of them leaving the building together, hopeful, connected, and ready for whatever comes next. Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan, Sleepless in Seattle. Do you remember when you watched it the first time initially, way back?
Gosh, I mean, I don't remember my specific thoughts, just that I liked it, right? It was just like this, I don't know, little idealistic romance, fate. Um, no matter where you are, maybe your love is somewhere far away. Keep in mind, I was probably like 11 or 12 when this came out. Through the years, I feel like I've watched it here and there probably 8 to 10 times, and every time it's just like this cozy little, like, feel-good movie. But when I was preparing for us to chat today and I rewatched, which it's probably been a few years at least,
Uh-huh.
maybe more, and I was looking through the lens, right? We're here to talk about Date Like the Movies. I saw some things, and that maybe I've, kinda just blocked out in the past, or maybe didn't think about. So, yeah, we're gonna get into it.
We will definitely get into it. Fate is a big topic today. We'll be talking about fate. We'll be talking about um, what to follow from this example, these characters in Sleepless in Seattle, and to your point there, uh, probably some things not recommended. to
Yes.
follow in terms of dating, like Sleepless in Seattle. When you
Good for
yeah,
entertainment, but maybe not good for real life.
very well said. Uh, yeah, when you're watching it, do you have an emotional vibe? Is there any laughter, cringing, swooning,
Yeah.
anything like
I
that?
mean, I'm always gonna have a soft spot for this one. So there is something oddly comforting about watching it again. Maybe it's just because I've seen it so many times. But I would say I was laughing in some parts, not full on crying, but maybe a little sad in some parts, and definitely cringing. I don't know if I was really ever swooning. I
Okay.
would say laughing, crying, and cringing. I think that there's still some funny, entertaining parts, and there's some sad pieces, and then definitely, again, somewhat not to do and lessons learned.
I have to talk about this boy Jonah for a minute here before we get
Yeah,
into the couple
having cute
because
kid.
yes, but I have a son who's turning 8 this year, and Jonah supposedly is 8 in this movie. Picturing my 8-year-old getting on an airplane, just booking the flight, okay, getting on an airplane,
Mhm.
traveling from Seattle to New York City. I cannot wrap my head around it. He has trouble getting to the bus stop. Yeah, yeah, no,
Well,
it's
keep in mind that Jonah had Jessica, also known as real life as Gabby Hoffman, and her parents are in the travel booking industry, so she probably gave them all the tips. She was a little I think she might have been a little bit older, like a year or 2. I just got the feeling like she had a little bit more world wisdom. I don't even know if it's wisdom, but she has some interesting takes on the world, and I feel like maybe she talked him into it. She definitely helped him book it, and she gave him some advice, right? Just tell them you're 12 and you look small for your age and you get upset. Or I'm gonna put that in the notes so then that way they don't question you. So I feel like as long as your son doesn't have a Jessica in his life, with all the travel advice, then he'll be okay. He won't be running off to New York City.
I know it references in the Fair to Remember throughout this film.
Mhm.
But speaking of Jonah and his flight, I was getting Home Alone vibes,
Oh,
which actually was the
yeah.
same time period. Home Alone came out, I
And
think, a few years before, and that was yeah.
yeah, and I feel like Kevin is probably around the same age, right? Maybe a little older? I don't know. Yeah, that is interesting. I didn't make that connection.
We'll
Hmm.
have to do a future segment on Jonah versus Kevin comparisons.
Yes. Yes.
Speaking of characters, we've got Annie and Sam, the lead characters here. Any one of them that you relate more to as you watched the movie this last time?
I probably relate to Sam, not to make this a total downer, but now more than I would have in the past when I watched this movie. When I watched this when I was younger, I feel like I probably my teenage self would relate to Annie and like, oh, this unrealistic idea of love and fate and and maybe not understanding what boundaries are when I was younger. And so I probably would say I related to her. But now, you know, the beginning of the movie, it's sad, really. Sam just suffered a big loss, and he's trying to figure out what's next and makes this move from Chicago to Seattle, and obviously eventually gets into the dating world. Now, thankfully, I haven't been through a loss like that, but having been through personal loss that was someone else close to me, I feel like now I can relate more to that grief of like, how do you move forward? And just being kind of stuck and not knowing how you move forward, wishing that person could still be here. So I feel like from that perspective, I actually relate more to Sam in this than Annie.
Interesting how our perspectives change based on experiences we have,
Mhm.
and as time passes.
Yeah. What about
But
you?
uh,
Yeah.
I don't know if I can really pick one
Yeah.
that
That's
I
tough.
relate to more. I've definitely never gone through any grief even close to his level.
Mhm.
And then on the flip side of that, Annie. Yeah, I can't say I relate much to her either. Teen boys are very different from teen girls.
Sitting around like watching rom-coms dreaming about how you're going to fly across the country to stalk someone.
I
Well, we're going to get
guarantee
into
you,
that.
you saw this movie at a much younger age than I did. I will say
Probably
that.
wasn't on your top list as a young boy of like, I want to go see Sleepless in Seattle.
So let's talk about the relationship. We've got Annie. She lives in Baltimore, Maryland. Um, And my question for you is we kind of dig into the relationship dynamics between Annie
Mhm.
and Sam. Uh, Do you think Annie is genuinely in love with Sam or more of just the idea of him?
Isn't it interesting that aside from a couple glances from afar, which we'll talk about, they literally I went and timed it. It was like less than 3 minutes that they spent together in person in this movie. I think it's the idea. When I look back at again my love for this movie, I want to believe she's genuinely in love with him because that's how movies work. They're just lovers that need to come together. They're meant to be and all that. But if you think about the this plot and what this means in real life, there's no way she can know if she loves him. There's no way. She might be intrigued, interested, those type of things, like, I wanna find out more, but there is no way you can know. And then even at the end, they've only spent 3 minutes together, so we don't know. We don't know how it's gonna work out. It could turn into love, but I don't think it's love yet.
I don't see how you can genuinely love somebody you don't know.
Again, you
And
could
to
be
me, that's what it comes down
interested,
to.
you
Yeah.
could be, "I wanna find out more," but you cannot love. There's just
You,
it's just no.
right. You can dream. Like you have dreams, you have fantasies,
Well, and I
you
think
hope for these things. Yeah.
she's filling in the blanks of what she doesn't know with what is her ideal, and that's making her think she loves him, but there's so much unknown. Yeah, she knows more than you would about a stranger because she's heard the story on the radio, but there's still a lot. You don't know what his personality, you don't know what the day-to-day interactions like, you don't know what your compatibility is. She's filling all that in to meet her ideal state to make her think that she's in love.
This is a quote from Sam. He says, and this is speaking to his son Jonah. There is no way that we are going on a plane to meet some woman who may be a crazy, sick lunatic. Didn't you see Fatal Attraction? To me, that's more of reality. Like, why would you ever do that, not having any clue about who this person is? Um, but there are some great things about this movie, and there are some positives too
Mhm,
that we can get into. But before we get to that, we got to talk about Annie a bit more.
mhm.
She crosses some boundary lines. You mentioned boundaries. What type of lines did you see Annie crossing as you rewatched the film?
This is where I'm a little embarrassed for myself that I watched this movie so many times and was just like, "This is such a great movie," and then when you really look at it through the lens of real life, she okay, so she hears the radio show, which a lot of people hear. She obviously has access to information that other people don't at this time, being a journalist for the newspaper. So she's using that to find out information, find out his last name, find out where he lives. The part that scares me the most is the flying to Seattle, driving around, showing up at the house. She shows up at the house and they're not there. So I don't know what the plan was. If they were there, would she have said something? But because they're not there, then she sees that they're on this boat or somehow figures out that they took their little boat ride and they're on this little like beach shoreline and playing catch or something. And she drives over there and she like is standing in the middle of the street and almost gets hit by a semi truck, but
That seems
still is
wild.
standing there watching them, and they kinda make eye contact for a minute, but then that's it, and then, I think she also sees them get together with I think it's supposed to be his sister and husband or played by his actual wife in real life. I think she assumes that that's, like, his girlfriend or something, but just the fact that you flew all that way, you didn't actually go I don't know whether it would've been better or worse if they talked, but it's kind of, like, creepier, right, that she didn't actually talk to him, she just watched from afar and then left. So that's a major boundary crossing there.
She does. She almost gets hit by that truck. She almost
And then
loses her life
she
as
still
she's.
stands there.
I don't know how anyone could watch this movie and not get like stalker or creepy vibes
But you know
from
what?
some of these
Okay,
things.
here's m in their defense, because I was one of those people that really didn't get those vibes until I was
Hmm.
watching it again and really thinking about it. Think about all the and we could have another episode on this. Think of all the
We need
romantic
to.
comedies where really, if you put it into real life, it is kinda stalkerish. Like, this is not the only movie. Think about all the movies where somebody is pursuing someone else and they're maybe seemingly following them or spying on them or whatever, but it comes across like this sweet romantic gesture, but in real life it could be creepy and possibly illegal. So, and then think about also, I think there's some bias going on because Meg Ryan is so adorable,
Oh,
and so it's
yes.
just like, "Oh, she's so cute," and, like, she loves him, but if it was someone else possibly that wasn't so adorable, we'd be like, "That that lady is a stalker," right? So there might be some bias here. So I think it's that, it's what we at least our generation was raised on, what romantic comedies were, and a lot of them did entail this type of behavior when you think about it.
And Meg Ryan, Tom Hanks, they've got
Mhm.
this on-screen chemistry.
Mhm.
Yeah, they can pull it off. You've Got Mail is, it's
Mhm.
kinda similar time period, same actor and actress that have, yeah, incredible on-screen chemistry. It's a very enjoyable movie to watch. Like, I watched it recently just like you did. I was into it the whole time. My daughter Lila watched it,
Mhm.
and she was liking it, you know?
Yeah.
So,
See, and she's probably seeing it the way I saw it when I first saw it.
maybe I should give her some teaching
You're gonna
moments.
have to yeah, you're gonna have to be like, "See that? That's not normal.
Yeah, don't
Don't
go
do that.
inside some guy's house that you've never met. You might get arrested for that, you know?
Don't do these things."
Uh, let's talk about Sam a bit. Uh, so he starts off, like you said, in Chicago, moves to Seattle, and that was a big reason why, was he just
Mhm.
needed probably new environment, new surroundings, to help him with his grief.
Yeah, I think he said something like, "I go every corner I go around, I think of her." So he
Mhm.
needed to just get away from that because it was not helping him move forward.
Do you think he was emotionally ready when we first meet him in the film?
Well, when we very first meet him, no. He's not. I think he is being self-aware and taking a good step in moving, even though I'm sure that would be really hard too, but I think he's aware that he needs to be somewhere new and kinda get a fresh start, not that that means he's gonna forget her, but to just move forward a little bit. But then I think there's an 18-month lapse between when we first see him and then now he's settled into Seattle a little bit. Still probably not I don't think anyone's ever ready after that kind of loss, but ready enough. And then, of course, Jonah gives him a big old push.
Yeah. Do you think there's some type of a rule for experiencing tragedy or grief before someone should start dating again?
I think it's different for everyone. I think some people move forward more quickly, not because it's any less difficult, not because they loved any less, not because it's a less like less of a loss or anything like that, but just some people I think moving forward quickly is kind of their therapy, and maybe it's not. It could be with the right person right away, it might not be. Others just need that time and they can't be pushed. I think it's all it all depends on the individual. I don't think there's a formula for that.
Jonah, the matchmaking phenom. I'll call him. Yeah, the 8-year-old, early in the film, he sees his dad is heartbroken, um, and he goes on to a radio show,
Mhm.
and that's the start of this whole thing. How do you feel about Jonah doing that?
It's cute. It's funny. I mean, it's sad, but it's, like, fun. It's, like, sad that he felt like he had to get to that point. Like, he's worried about his dad. He says, "I'm worried about him." It comes from a good place, but if I were Sam, I would be livid. Like, you just put me on the spot because not only did you call in, but then you let Dr. Marsha talk you into getting me on the phone, and now I'm on the spot, and I'm not ready for that.
Yeah.
So I'd be pretty mad, but it's really cute, and he's only 8.
When I watched this movie recently, I saw this as the opposite of what I usually see depicted with kids. I feel like more often than not, we will see kids depicted where uh, they're against their parent moving on,
Yes,
or they
true.
don't want them to. do that because they feel, hey, what about their lost parent who, then are they
Mhm.
forgotten about? It was a complete spin on what I feel like is depicted more often.
That is interesting, and obviously there's as we get further into the movie, there's some people he doesn't want his dad with and others that he does, and maybe again, it's just he sees his dad just in so much pain and just kind of lonely that he knows that's what's best for him, but it is not the norm.
All right, Kristen. Well, let's do our intermission game
Okay.
called Date That Movie, which I know you're familiar with. We do
Mhm.
this on every episode. This is a game where we unleash our creativity by coming up with a date idea that's inspired from the movie in some way to give our listeners dating ideas outside the box sometimes. Kristen, is there a date that you have in mind inspired from Sleepless in Seattle?
I had a few ideas, a couple obvious ones, and then one maybe a little bit unique. Mine would be going on a boat ride because they live on the water. They are even on the boat when at one point when she's there stalking them. I'm gonna use the word stalking. Like I know that it's not necessarily like how she would define it, but
It's accurate.
um
It's accurate.
yeah. So one could be going on a boat and these could be combined or these could be separate dates. One could be going on a boat ride. And obviously maybe be very aware of your surroundings and make sure you're not being stalked like they were. Another would be very obvious, watching an affair to remember. My last one is going to an apple orchard and go apple picking, and that's an homage to how both Annie and Maggie, Sam's late wife, could peel an apple in one long peel, like one long piece of the peel. Sam talks about it, and then they show Annie doing it. Um, So I thought that's like a connection, like the apple
I
connection, go
love that.
apple picking.
Yeah, I love that. You gave us multiple ideas. Fabulous.
What about you?
One date idea I have is called the Landmark Meetup.
Mhm,
They pick a landmark, Empire State Building, and they meet there. And so my idea is it doesn't have to be the Empire State Building, but a landmark where a couple could meet at. It could be prearranged or it could
mhm.
be somewhat spontaneous, but I think that could be a lot of fun to do
That's
something
cool. I love that
at a
idea.
landmark. My other idea, as an at-home idea, I like to give a variety of ideas. So at-home
Mhm,
one, kind of similar to watching an affair to remember. I'll expand it a bit and say rom-com double feature with love notes. Watch an affair to remember first,
mhm.
and you followed up with Sleeps in Seattle. So it's like a back-to-back double header. And as you watch the movie, you write each other short, handwritten notes. Something
That's
sweet,
cute.
something short. Maybe it's meaningful, maybe it's funny, whatever you want to do. But that is in honor to the whole idea of she wrote a letter to him based on the radio show.
Yeah, that's cute. I love it.
All right, well, let's get back to the movie with some more thoughts and discussion around fantasy versus reality. As far as I know, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this one, Kristen, I don't believe this was based on a true story.
Not that I know of.
If it
Well,
was,
I
I got to
I'll
find
have
out
to
this more.
I'm gonna research it, but no, I don't think so.
I'd be shocked if it was. But if it is, hey, uh, I got to meet this couple uh, in real life. But let's talk about some of the fantasy and reality elements of the film. We already touched on some of these, um, including right Annie's actions today seen more as alarming than
Mhm.
romantic.
I was just gonna say, I just thought of a little alarming versus charming. We might have thought it was
Oh,
charming
I like
before.
that.
Now it's alarming.
Yeah, alarming versus charming. But what about the idea of meant to be? Do you believe in the idea of meant to be or fate, like the movie suggests?
Yeah, I think that meant to be is a thing, but I think you can't, like, force it because then it's not meant to be. There's a balance of fate and meant to be, and then that action and the choices you make. Like, you can't totally just sit back and wait for someone or something to come to you and just rely 100% on fate. Like, you have to make decisions that are gonna lead you there, and then fate plays a role as well. I think it's a combo. What do you think?
One thing I'm not a huge fan of is the idea of a soulmate.
Mhm.
Now, it depends somewhat because people could define soulmate differently depending on what your definition is of soulmate. Um, what happens in a relationship if where one person says this is meant to be, another person says it's not meant to be. Then you
Well,
have some
right.
conflicting
So
viewpoints
you
there.
so it's not meant to be if both people don't feel that way. Like, that's number 1. I just feel like if one person feels like it's meant to be and the other is saying it's not, okay, that's personal choice. This person who thinks it was meant to be has misread the signs, misread the signals, and they need to move on because anything that's meant to be should not involve forcing someone against their
Yeah,
will.
very true. What I will say though is I've thought about my life many times and how seemingly simple decisions
Mhm.
sometimes have huge impact.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's always fate. I don't think it is personally. Some of it honestly could be just dumb luck, in my opinion. Uh, but I do believe it's interesting when you look at your life, like simple
Mhm.
things that happen for good, for bad. It's just interesting when you look at your life. I think each of us will see a lot of things. If I was a few minutes late, my life could have been different. But I do believe that there's a lot of things, simple things that do end up being very profound when you look at
Yeah.
afterwards. So
Oh, for sure.
yeah,
Yeah. My husband and I talk about it all the time. Like, just the things that had to happen, the choices that we had to make to ever meet and end up together. And you could go back generations then and say, okay, the choices our parents had to make to be together for then us to be here, all the little decisions that add up.
one reason I'm not a fan of the term soulmate is because I feel like it implies there's only one person you're supposed to be with. What happens if you don't meet them? Like, are you just screwed forever?
Right.
Like, and so
Right.
I think
Or
you can be happy. I do believe a person could be happy in a relationship with different people.
yeah, maybe you could have a few soulmates. I don't know. Like, yeah, because also like in this movie, right? So Sam was his wife who presumably it was his soulmate to him. Does that mean he's never allowed to love again?
Exactly. Exactly.
So, but maybe it's different soulmates for different stages, or we just don't use the word soulmate.
Let's talk about communication. They hardly communicate at all. You mentioned they're hardly even
No.
on screen together. This is a
Yeah.
movie where the two main characters
Yeah.
hardly ever have any on-screen time together.
Yeah.
Um, so how important is actual communication in forming your relationship?
Critical. Well, to Annie's credit, even though she is a stalker, she's trying to communicate. She's sending letters. Sam's not receptive at this time. Like, he's not interested. Jonah is kind of the proxy communicator and trying to arrange everything. But yes, in reality, when you're starting a relationship, you have to be communicating. How are you going to get to know someone? How are you going to understand what's a fit, maybe what's not a fit, how this could or couldn't work? Like, yes, 100%. Yeah, that's critical.
In Andy's defense, if I had to pick someone who'd be a stalker, I'd go Meg Ryan in the 90s. You know,
That's what I'm saying. She's so cute. It's like you can't be like, "That's scary." It's just like,
yes,
"Oh, she's so cute."
the cutest. We should have a cutest stalker award.
I mean, and that's where I just would be interested to know if we had other characters in there or other people in there, how that would come out differently. Love the soundtrack of this movie, but if you had, like, scary music throughout, this could become a horror movie.
We should come back with a follow-up episode on the top 10 rom-com stalkers. You
Yes,
said it's a
I'm
common
telling you,
theme.
there's
We
at
should
least
create a
10.
list.
No, we should because
That'd be
there's
awesome.
many.
We'll have to get working on that one.
Okay.
Stay tuned, listeners, for the
Yes.
top 10
Next up.
stalking list. Yes, exactly. Let's talk more this in Seattle. Are there any additional dating behaviors in the movie or things that happened that you say, you know what, these no way translate to 2026?
I think that they do, but just in different forums. The letters she's writing, you could still write a letter today. I
Hmm.
don't know if it will make it there or not because mail, at least my mail, is unreliable. But most people would right, they'd be sending like a DM or whatever. They'd figure out how they can message you. So I think it's still the behavior, but it's just a different way of doing it. The live radio show that Jonah calls into, do those still exist? Maybe. I don't think a lot of as many people are listening. Would Jonah as an 8-year-old, I don't know if he'd be allowed on social media yet. But if he was, or if Jessica somehow got him access, because I feel like she'd be the one,
I feel like
he
you
would
find
have
a
been
way.
doing like a
Yeah.
he would be doing a TikTok about how his dad needs a new girlfriend. And
That could be the sequel.
then the women that see this would be sending messages, right, instead of writing letters. And I think Annie's research, or research as we call it, right, part of her stalking would happen a lot more efficiently. She wouldn't even need to work for the newspaper and have the special access she had because she would just be on Facebook looking up, trying to find Sam's profile. She'd be on LinkedIn or whatever. Like you could look up public records maybe and try to find him. Once you find out his name, she'd probably have all that in like a matter of minutes compared to the research she did in the movie. So I think the behaviors, not that that's a good dating behavior, but it's something she did, still happen today. I'm, but just in a different way,
She also
different
hires an
forum.
investigator. At one point, she hires an
Yes, that's right.
investigator.
I forgot about that. Okay, yeah. That is next level. I wouldn't call that recommended dating behavior.
That's a good
I wonder
disclaimer.
if she I
No.
wonder if she ever tells him about that after they meet.
This letter she writes, he receives hundreds
Mhm.
of letters from female listeners. You're female. Why do you
Mhm.
think so many women related to him on the radio?
No, he wasn't the one that wanted to go on the radio. Jonah made the call and Sam, you could tell at first was pretty mad. He acclimates pretty quickly and he starts opening up and he's being very vulnerable and a lot of men don't do that. So I think a lot of women are that's pulling at their heartstrings. And then the story, the loss of love, and well, he was capable of this great love, so he's probably capable of another great love, and maybe I could be the his great love. So I think it's just the story, and then I guess there's a lot of women that are just bold enough to go for it.
Is it pretty important then for me? I mean, I can't say all, but for many women to have a man who is opens up like that and is vulnerable with his emotions.
I I think so, maybe because it is more rare, or usually takes time, which is understandable. I don't think most women expect someone to share what he shared on national radio, but yeah, I would say that's an important characteristic.
We've talked a lot about, some red flags, some shady
Mhm.
behavior. There's some good stuff here too in terms of
Mhm.
dating today. What do you see from the movie that would still be good behavior today and still applicable?
Sam being, I guess, open about his grief and being vulnerable because if he is going to get out in the dating world, he's going to have to kind of work through that and probably be willing to be a little bit open with in his new relationship about that so that they can understand where he's coming from. I think even though Annie's actions are very questionable, I do think that it's clear the fact that she's so consumed with trying to re- learn about Sam and meet Sam is obviously a clear sign that her current relationship with Walter is not the right relationship. And so while she shouldn't be doing what she's doing, I think she's right to stop and question it. Better to figure that out now than after you get married. She should be doing it differently, but I think it's a good thing that she's trying to figure things out even though she doesn't go about it the best way. That just goes along with the theme of, like, don't settle just because it seems like that's the easy thing or the good thing. Again, not condoning how she did it.
She has this longing need for connection. She is
Mhm.
craving connection. That's how I viewed it. That's still here today. People want to feel connection. I mean, it could be different from person to person what that means exactly.
Yes.
But yeah, she is deeply connected to what he shares on the radio. Granted, that way is crazy to me, but just the idea that she's seeking connection is huge, and so I think the movie does a great job honing in on that. Uh, I agree with you on Annie acknowledging the doubt she has, and she's engaged to him. She's
Mhm.
engaged to Walter, um, and so even though they were that far in, currently engaged, rather than go through with it, she makes a tough decision to not, which I believe is the right decision. Uh,
Mhm.
if you still have doubts, rather than going through it just to go through with it. Which, by the way, that scene where they like break up uh, is the most nonchalant
Yeah.
lack of emotion
He's so
breakup
easy he's so
I've ever heard of.
easygoing.
He's just like, yeah,
That's probably what made it so easy to, like, be with him and stay with him for and let it go on as long as it did when it probably shouldn't have is he is easy to deal with. He's
yeah.
easygoing.
I also think the movie gets right the ability for second chances. I love the idea how he was in love once, second chances are still a thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, and so I love kind of that theme throughout the movie, and I think it does a good job the way it depicts how he views his grief and how he does take time to heal, and he's open about that with his friends and family. Like there's some good dialogue, some good conversations in this movie as um, he really doesn't want to get rushed into dating again, and you can see it.
Mhm.
That's a pretty realistic thing and could be a good thing to take away from this film.
Yeah, I agree.
Speaking of fate in modern dating, though, uh, yeah, I feel like this movie came out in 1993. Technology is a whole new world,
Mhm.
which you've touched on. But even though technology changed the mechanism, it hasn't changed the magic. Because I believe the magic of a relationship is what happens to what you said earlier once you do a lot of the work. I don't believe you can just sit at home, not trying to improve yourself, and expect Mr. Right or Mrs. Wonderful to walk through the door. I don't believe it
Mhm.
works like that. If you're working towards yourself and you're putting yourself in a good spot, positions, being open to it, being available to it without going stalker level, uh, then I think it's much more likely for someone to find a relationship that is good for them.
It's interesting today because, again, with technology and everything we have, I guess the pool is open wider of the people and all that, but again, like, you've gotta work on yourself and be open to that, and then maybe fate plays a part in it.
Speaking to the pool of people, I hear a lot of stories too around, right? So common these days, people meet through apps. It starts
Mhm.
with messaging, texting, and then they meet in person eventually, and they're very different from the person that they appeared to be through texting and
Mm.
messaging. And so that's one thing that when I see this movie, I'm like, man, it's so easy for somebody to say things and be somebody so different in person. You know what I mean? And so that's one
Mhm.
thing when I watch this movie, I'm like, We're talking a risky situation here. If we're going solely based on what somebody said who we don't know.
Yeah, and it's scary because I guess it depends on what the person's intent is going into it because there's plenty of people that meet online and they're looking for a real relationship, so they are putting their true self out there, and so when they meet, it is similar to who they thought they were, and maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't, right? We meet and maybe it just doesn't connect the way we hoped, but it is the person we thought, and then there's the people that are out there just with other intentions, and that can be a little scary. I think even people that are meeting traditionally out and about, that could happen. Someone could put on a different personality and be someone different in those initial dates and then suddenly take a turn and you see the real person. So I think either way it's a risky business putting yourself out there, but you got to do it if you want to find love. I think
Yep.
that's the ultimate lesson, but don't stalk people.
That's the ultimate lesson. How do you, how do you think romance was differently before social media?
You actually had to go through the process of getting to know someone by actually talking to them and spending time with them. And while we still do that today, there's so much free research that can be done if the person has online presence. I guess, there are some people that are a little bit off the grid, but for the most part, you can quickly find out, see pictures, see the places they go, see pictures of previous relationships if those are out there, all of those things. And that's usually stuff that would just like come out through conversation through numerous dates and as time goes on and getting to know them. So it was more gradual and you had to be more intentional and actually be show your interest in those conversations to find out about a person where now it's just like everything else in this world, it just everything happens so fast and that's not always a good thing, I think. And then you had to actually, like, call them, like, you couldn't text. So, you had to talk to them or maybe they weren't available and you had to l figure out what kind of message you were gonna leave or you don't leave a message and you call back, but you can't just send the casual text to communicate with them.
You had to be more intentional,
Mhm.
I believe, 100%.
It's the instant responses, or if they're not responding or can you see that they read it, but they didn't respond, or they didn't respond, but then you see them post something and you're like, "Well, they're out with so and so," and people put a lot more out there. You just know a lot of more of what people are up to, whether that's good or bad, I don't know. Lack of mystery, maybe. Lack of mystery
Mm,
because of that.
yeah. All right, Kristen, are you ready for the hot seat rapid fire speed dating segment? Um, I'm just going to throw out questions and we're going to go with it. I'm confident in you.
Okay, let's do
First
this.
question. Best scene in the movie?
Okay, this is more like just from a comedy standpoint. It's not a best scene because it's an example of a good date or
Hmm.
anything, but I just still always like I've always cracked up and I still cracked up like watching this last time when Annie gets the call from Becky, Rosie O'Donnell, her friend in the movie, in the middle of the night. Becky's like, "I think Sleepless is on the radio or whatever again," and Annie's gotta go run downstairs. Walter's sleeping in the bed, and she runs down. Oh, she makes up some excuse about Becky's boyfriend or husband or whatever. She runs downstairs, and then, of course, it's the corded phone, so she's stretching the cord across the kitchen. She's got the radio, she's listening to it, she's talking on the phone, and she's like, "I don't know how I'm gonna explain this," which, by the way, should have been a sign. And then she tucks herself into the closet, but you got the phone cord like stretching across the kitchen. She's in the closet, and then of course Walter comes down because he's what's going on? He's wondering and opens the door and then um catches her as kind of a and I think makes a reference to Clue, like Miss Scarlet in the broom closet with the radio. Again, nothing to do with dating really. I just think it's a relief. It always gets me. It's funny. And because we don't have the phone cord situation anymore, so it just kind of was true to its era.
Here's one dialogue between Annie and Becky. This is while watching An Affair to Remember. Annie says, Now, those were the days when people knew how to be in love. You're a basket case. They knew it. Time, distance, nothing could separate them because they knew it was right. It was real. It was, and the Becky ends it with the best line ever. A movie. That's her problem. You don't want to be in love. You want to be in love in a movie. It's this movie making fun of movies. Like
Yes,
I
yes.
love that line.
That is great, and it kinda goes back to, again, like, her behavior is accepted when we watch this movie in the past because it's in a movie. So, we wanna be in love in a movie where it's okay to go fly across the country and watch someone on the beach.
There's another line in this movie which gets mentioned more than once, where characters will say, it's easier to be killed by terrorists than it is to
Yeah.
get married over the age of 40. So there are some like funny comedic lines in this film.
Yes.
Uh,
I think that's how they're explaining how there's so many women writing or coming out of the woodwork, calling and sending letters and all that, or calling into the radio show and then sending letters.
worst scene in the movie.
Standing in the middle of the road, almost getting hit by a semi truck, and still standing after that because she's that dedicated of a stalker. Like, that's yeah,
If you're gonna be a stalker, you got to be a dedicated one.
it's true.
But it's Meg Ryan, so it's cute.
Yes. Right, right.
Yeah.
It's totally acceptable.
We just talked about a few movie quotes, but do you have a favorite quote?
Near the end, when Annie tells Walter when they're at dinner and she tells him, like, the whole situation and how she needs to see about Sam and all that, and first of all, again, he's oddly calm and just okay with this whole thing, but I loved when he says, "I don't wanna be someone you settle for. I don't wanna be someone anyone settles for. Marriage is hard enough without bringing such low expectations into it, isn't it?" That was mic drop. It's
That's good.
such a true statement.
What is the biggest green flag in the movie, if you could pick one?
I think Walter being, like, so wise about, "Let's not settle then." That. I think Sam being willing to open up about his grief.
Going with Sam not rushing into dating as my
Mhm,
biggest green flag. But
mhm.
Walter is next up in the rapid fire. Is Walter truly boring, or is he just unfairly judged?
I think he's maybe unfairly judged, but he's just not the right person for her. If she's this fixated on Sam, like, or the idea of Sam, he's not the right person. But I feel like there's probably like a little bit of a quirky side. Maybe he's not so boring.
He gets the shaft in this movie big time.
Mhm.
This is one of those films, as I watched this, and I said to myself, there's no villain. There's no bad character. There is no person you're rooting against,
Yeah.
for me, at least in the film, because you have Walter, who seems like a great guy. She calls off the engagement. He's like, okay. Um, and then you have Victoria. Victoria, I really liked. And this is the woman that Sam starts going on dates with. Jonah, not being a fan of her,
Mhm.
doesn't give her a chance
Mhm.
from the get go.
Mhm.
Um, but I want to ask you about Victoria's laugh. She has a very distinct laugh. Are you a fan of this laugh, or is it over the top for you?
If she's the one, you could deal with it, but it's a little bit much. I think Jonah's onto something. It's a little bit hyena-like.
I do like her a lot, though, in the movie.
Yeah, I
She,
think she tries to include Jonah, and I like her.
yeah,
I
she
think
makes him
Jonah's just set
dinner.
on Annie, so nobody else is
Yeah.
gonna be good enough.
Yep, she must have wrote one heck of a letter. Do you believe in something I'm referring to as the voice crush phenomenon? Meaning,
So yeah, tell me more.
yeah, being attracted to someone's voice,
I guess it's a thing, but again, that's a crush, like, that doesn't mean love. How does it pan out? Like, how does that hold up long term? I don't think you can base a decision or a relationship based on just that.
for sure.
But I mean, I guess it could be a thing, sure.
I do think it is a thing. I wouldn't base my romantic endeavors on somebody's voice, if I'm gonna put it
Like,
like that.
you're not gonna plan a move across the country for someone based on the voice, and you haven't met them yet? It's no? Okay.
No, I would not. There can be some attraction there, but
Yeah,
I believe in someone's voice. So,
yeah, it's
yeah.
just you don't know whether that's gonna pan out to anything real.
Next up, houseboat, dream or nightmare, where Sam and Jonah
Mm,
live.
it's I have mixed feelings because I love being on the water and it looks really neat, but I don't know how much a houseboat like that does that rock a lot? Like, I know it's bigger than, like, a little boat you could live on, but I get seasick. So, like, it's a deal breaker if it's gonna rock at all, like, I can't do it, but otherwise, like, it looks pretty cool.
I'm going with nightmare. If I had to pick one of those options, but I'm not huge on living on water, so it doesn't really do that too much for me. Empire State Building.
Mm,
If you could switch that out for a different final location meetup, uh, what would you pick?
I don't think you can, because then you lose the whole affair to
Okay,
remember connection. I mean,
that's
I
true.
hate to be boring, but then you gotta change the whole plot.
I'm gonna take a spin on that question for you
Mhm,
because you used to live in Chicago.
mhm.
Is there like a iconic? I just combined Chicago and
Sh
iconic into a
the
word.
Iconic.
The
I
iconic
mean, there's, like, the Sears Tower.
final meeting, iconic or unrealistic at the Empire State Building.
I mean, both, both. Like, I it's a movie, so it has to come together like that, but again, what are the chances? Like, would that guy really let I think the security guy, like, lets her up there after it's closed or I they're not gonna do that, but it had to it's iconic
Both.
because
Yep.
it's unrealistic. I think it's iconic
Yeah.
because it's unrealistic.
Nice. I like the way you combine those together. Our final segment on Day Like the Movies is called After the Happily Ever After, where we discuss the likely outcome or thoughts on the future of the relationship once the credits start rolling.
Mm.
So, Kristen, the big question, would Sam and Annie realistically last as a couple?
We just don't know enough about them together. I think statistically, their chances aren't great. Um, but you never know. There's people that meet and get married like 2 weeks after they meet or like a month after
Hmm.
they meet, and so they can't know each other that much either, and it works, and they're together for the rest of their lives. So, there's a chance. One big hurdle that Annie's gotten over already is that she's got Jonah's buy-in, and again, like you were talking about earlier, a lot of children struggle with when their parents move on and they're dating someone new. So she's got that, like, already taken care of. So that's something that I think a lot of relationships would struggle through. I think it also depends on whether she I don't know whether she should or shouldn't come clean about all the stuff she did. I mean, he knows he saw her, so I guess she's gonna have to explain, why did he see her in the middle of the road? They locked eyes. He saw her. So he's gonna have to she's gonna have to explain that, and when he finds out all that, is he gonna be like, "Wow, you really love me. Yep, this is great," or now I'm disturbed."
I think the answer is definitely maybe to if they would last, because you're right. There's always exceptions. I don't believe we can say for sure yes or for sure no. I agree with you. It's unlikely if we're talking from a percentage standpoint. The comparison I would make to that is to a TV show, The Bachelor, The
Mm,
Bachelorette, where
mhm,
it brings all these people together and they
mhm,
make these romantic experiences or in romantic
mhm.
locations where it's like, oh yeah, it's everything's amazing. We're here in this unrealistic
Right, you're in a bubble. You're not,
environment.
like,
You're in a
dealing with
bubble,
the day to day.
right?
Mhm,
So I think that's an equal comparison because from what I've heard, a few of those have worked out long term, not the majority of them.
mhm,
I think you could relate that to this where it's sure there's a chance. Lots more
yep.
information we would need to know. I hope they do. Uh, there's no sequel, but if there was a sequel, I would like to see Jonah maybe today navigating uh, dating in 2026, perhaps,
Yeah.
which would be an interesting thing. Um, we're going to end it, Kristen, on this quote because I think this is just a fantastic quote about dating. This is from Sam talking to his son Jonah. He says, Jonah, listen to me. You don't know Victoria. I hardly know her myself. She's, in fact, a mystery to me. She tosses her hair a lot. Why does she do this? I have no idea. Is it a twitch? Does she need a haircut? Should she use a barrette to keep her hair out of her face? These are things I'm willing to get to the bottom of. And that is why I am dating her. That's all I'm doing. I'm not living with her. I'm not marrying her. Can you appreciate the difference? This is what single people do. They try other people on and see how they fit. But everybody's an adjustment. Nobody's perfect. There's no such thing as perfect. And right after he shares that, he sees Annie walk off the airplane where they didn't know it was each other at that point. But I did love that quote about dating because I think that's reality. No one's
Yeah.
perfect. You're trying each other on. I thought Sam did a good job there complaining that to his 8-year-old son.
Yeah, I love that, and also it ties back to dating was more of a mystery, like or to kind of learn about the other person, they're a mystery compared to today where maybe you know a little too much going in, but I love that. That's so true.
Yeah.
Great quote.
Kristen, thanks so much for joining me on this episode of Date Like the Movies to discuss Sleepless in Seattle. And thanks to all the listeners for tuning in. Please remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Until next time, my friends, keep dating. Thanks so much.